I found out that you were playing Barack Obama. What's your thought process approaching such a role?
A big part, I think, of being an artist is figuring out what's useful to you and what's not useful to you. And I think very early in my process of becoming Barack Obama, I realized that the pressure of being Barack Obama was not useful to me. And I think just on a more small level, I realized when I was going into auditions very early on in my career, that the panic of, the fantasy of, oh, if I get this job, then I'll be able to do this, all of that was a distraction to what is actually useful to me, which is the work, which is the step-by-step granular focus of the work. So that the first thing for me is to release my fantasies of what I hope it will be, my fantasies and dreams of what I have to do, the pressure, all that, and just go, today I wake up and there's 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours day of work. How many hours can I commit to this project? How will I organize my day? These are the things which are important because it can be very easy to be distracted about what's not important.
I just want to ask if there is a method for you personally in channeling versatility with your characters. Like how you can look so distinctly different while playing someone in a show and another person in another movie.
For me, I believe that every character is in me. So if I'm playing a murderer, I believe inside me, I have a murderer. I believe me, if I get into this, if my life was different, if I was brought up differently, maybe I could murder someone. The question in terms of versatility is like really allowing for myself to explore the inside of myself and go, you know what? If I had experienced different things, maybe I would be this mean. Maybe if I had been brought up like this, how would I speak? Well, I would speak with this American accent, wouldn't I? And if I was always afraid of being attacked, maybe I'd always make myself big. You know, finding the ways that I am in different situations and turning those bits up and turning the other bits down. And then within myself, I have multitudes. Within myself, I can sometimes be quiet, I can sometimes be loud, I can sometimes be... And so it's, in a way, my process of versatility is also about self-discovery. What I want you to pay attention to is how what they say to each other affects each other. I want you to use your powers of observation. Forget about the words of what's being repeated. Look at what's happening emotionally to them as they repeat.
You have nice shoes.
I have nice shoes. You have intimate eyes.
I have intimate eyes.
You have intimate eyes.
I have intimate eyes. You have a silver necklace.
I have a silver necklace.
You have a silver necklace.
I have a silver necklace. Your ears are funny.
My ears are funny?
Your ears are funny.
So wait, so how did that make him feel when you said that?
I don't want to say confused, but like...
Okay, say you're confused.
You're confused.
I'm confused.
Okay, stop a minute. Did he agree that he's confused? Exactly, okay. So the idea is that no matter what you're saying to the other person, you're affecting them. They came into this space with an attitude, and everything they said to each other affected the other person. So I guess if there's one thing maybe I leave with you as you do your acting, is to really observe the other person. There's so much going on, and if you can observe what's going on and react to that, you're going to have really truthful interactions in front. One of the things I would love to leave with you is the importance of mentors. Finding people in your lives who are doing what you want to do and trying to meet with them and get their advice on things in a somewhat semi-formal way. Learned the power of mentors. I think I was in my late 20s when a friend of mine said, you know, who are your mentors? And I said, I don't have any mentors. And she said, what are you talking about? You have to have mentors. And to me, it's been really a life-changing thing, both having mentors, and sometimes it's people I don't know. I just go to them and say, listen, I'm trying to do this thing. I'm looking for a mentor. If I could meet with you for half an hour once a month, just to talk about where I am and you give me my advice. Anyway, and also being a mentor as well has been very instructive to me.
Do you feel, yes, you're an actor, director, writer, composer, because you've been doing all of these things from the past, right? And then you infused it into what you're doing. But did you feel safe in delegating people to it? Or do you think that they would not understand your vision if they come into the project or something?
Filmmaking is a collaborative process. you know, we watch the movie and we see how many people at the end of the movie. I went to watch Black Widow for the first time the other day. I was like, 400 people worked on this movie. That's a lot of delegation. And so it's fundamental. Ultimately, my job is to not be the smartest person in the room. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm doing something wrong. If I'm the most talented person in the room, I'm being an idiot. I have to surround myself with people who are smarter than me, more talented than me, because they will raise me. Yeah, absolutely. Delegation was not only something which it wasn't something I begrudgingly did, it was something which is absolutely fundamental to the process, and I would not have been able to do it without finding collaborators like that.
As a writer, how do you tell the stories that you feel the audience, the society may not be ready to listen to at that particular moment? Especially maybe, I don't know, in Nollywood, in Nigeria, there are some stories that they may feel so uncomfortable to listen to, but it's happening in the society and you want to tell that story. So how do you go about that?
What I would like to encourage you to do is to be brave and to upset people. That's almost one of the best things about art, is that you make people feel uncomfortable. And so you just put it out there, and it happened a lot in the theater as well. You know, if you think about the revolutionary theater in South Africa as well, it was because people said, you're not gonna like this, you're gonna try and crush me, you're gonna try and put me down, but I'm gonna tell this story, I'm gonna tell my truth. Now, there may be other constraints. Maybe you try and upset people and no one will give you money, and maybe you try and make it with your friends, and you can't, okay, and then you have to get metaphorical and stuff, and maybe that's your second solution. But what I'd like to say, and I guess that's why I'm checking myself just to make sure, is this something I'm doing as well as saying? And I don't know, to be honest. But what I would like to say is go upset people, go and put the truth out there, go and make something controversial. It's what we need, really.
How does it feel to tell your story from your perspective to the world? Do you feel you should be open? Should you make this to be fiction? I just like to know how, like, to share your story to people. What kind of, like, how does that feel?
I had a mentor of mine who said to me that when you give what you've written to somebody else to read, if it doesn't feel that you've given them your diary, if you don't feel shame and embarrassment that they're seeing the inner workings of your being, then you've written nothing worth writing about. That ultimately the best work that you're going to produce is the work that makes you feel most vulnerable, most exposed, because that's what we're going to connect to in your work. And so finding ways to really engage with that, it should be uncomfortable, to be honest. There may be an element of catharsis to it. There may be an element of being able to go, oh, I'm letting that go. But if you don't feel a bit uncomfortable about what you're sharing, then maybe you have to question yourself, am I really putting myself out there enough? Am I challenging myself enough?
As a director, what's that defining moment for you in your career?
For me, a defining moment was I was broken at home and I was watching these. I don't know if you've watched these on YouTube. I really recommend them to you. They're called the round tables, right? And you can watch directors talk about it. Anyway, I was watching one with Quentin Tarantino, and Quentin Tarantino said, if you say that you're a director and you haven't made your first movie, you're full of shit. You should have made your first movie by now because you got a phone in your pocket. I said, fuck you, Tarantino. Not a piece of shit. So within 2 weeks of that, I'd made my first short film because I'd gone, that's not going to be, you're not going to tar me with that. That really was the defining moment in my career, because when I stopped being a person who talked about being a writer-director and thought about being a writer-director, and I became a writer and director. My first short film, the budget was $50. I spent $40 on pizza, because you have to feed your crew, and I spent $20 on a stick for a boom. Everything else was begged and borrowed. I wouldn't say stolen, but we called up people, and I made my first, and it's so imperfect. It's so, yeah, but I'm proud of it, to be honest, because number one, it's pretty good for what we had, and number two, it changed me from being a person who talked to a person who does. And it's just something I can't recommend to all of you, that don't let your perfectionism get in the way of your progress. that you must make.
As a director, do you give room for your production designer to explore some of his or her options?
What you don't want to do is be like, I'm an art director who likes doing avant-garde art, and then you meet a director who likes, naturalism and veritas, and then say, yeah, but what if we add in this abstract art into your veritas? You want to be on the same page. So either if let's say, for example, you like doing things avant-garde, don't go work with a director unless you're going to try and fulfill his vision. So the first thing is having an alignment. If you're in alignment, if you and I both want to make an avant-garde, metaphorical piece of work, then definitely I'm so excited to work with you because you're great at avant-garde and metaphysical. So you're going to be bringing all these avant-garde ideas to me, and I'd be like, yes, you're going to help me fulfill my vision. But what you don't want to be in is in a conflict of tone. And to that extent, I would say that it's the director's job to set the tone and your job to try and fulfill and expand that tone. But fundamentally, I think the director can set a playground, and then you should have the freedom to be able to offer tools in that. But ultimately, the final decision will come to the director.
So how do you try to control all the talents and all the, let me use this word, egos that you find on a movie set as a director? 90%
of directing is casting, apparently. Try not to cast actors with egos. That's your first step of not having to deal with a big ego, is try not to bring too many big egos into your life. So, number two, I guess, this is where we become part therapist and part da-da-da, and is trying to understand what works for this particular actor. Because most of the time, ego comes from anxiety. And so, look, different people take different things. Some people you have to be strict with, some people you have to be soft with, some people you have to compliment. Take this bag of compliments and spread them to all the actors you know, because they love it. Oh gosh, actors love a compliment. You ever heard of the compliment sandwich? Have you ever, you know it? Okay, wow, this may be the best thing I'm going to tell you today. You're working with an actor. He's overacting. He's doing it too big. Option one, hey, look, your acting is too big. You're going to shower him with anxiety and da-da-da. Compliment sandwich. Whoa! I tell you, you're very charismatic on screen. I mean, really, very, very charismatic. Let's do another take, and let's just give it like a really subtle vibe, right? And can I say, you look very handsome today. Compliment sandwich. Compliment, shit, compliment. Compliment sandwich. Everybody loves a compliment sandwich. Even I, who knows what a compliment sandwich is, and I can tell when a director is giving me a compliment sandwich, I still eat the sandwich. Because I just don't all want to be rejected. Listen, by the way, I'm not saying lie. Do not lie. But if you can't find something to compliment, then you're not paying attention enough. There's always something to compliment. But don't lie, that's not going to help either. So you find something that's truthful, that you can give, you give your piece of advice as nicely as you can, and then compliment. Anyway, that's one way of dealing with egos. All right, it's been wonderful chatting with you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me in your class.